So cloud computing is the ability to take all of the hardware that you used to have to buy and put in your office basement or agency basement or whatever it is, and just be able to access that same amount of computing power directly over the internet. The reason why this is so interesting and compelling is because typically when an agency or a business buys all these servers, they don't use them at 100% capacity. There's actually some recent news that I think some federal agency was using 7% of their server capacity. So you think about, you're wasting 93% of your budget for that line item. So through cloud computing, you can just access exactly the amount of computing resources that you need on demand at that time without wasting budget on excess computer capacity. So the reason why cloud computing has become such an interesting and important component of the federal IT enterprise, at least in recent years, is because there is a huge demand for more flexible computing power, meaning how can we experiment with new web services in a way that doesn't break the budget, and then from a budget perspective, how do we save money? It's entirely possible that by bringing all of the government's hardware, or as much of it as possible, into the cloud, we're going to save billions of dollars. Probably 95% of the time or more, there's probably a role for cloud computing to play if someone is using computing power that's big iron based. They own this hardware, it's in the server room or whatever. There's probably a newer and a better way to do it. And it seems like a lot of the technology infrastructure that's been put in place for federal government has been put in place over the past 10 to 15 years or so. A lot of it's outdated, and I think a lot of those contracts are written at pre-2000 prices. And I think we all know that the cost of computing has gone down dramatically in just the past few years. So if we can re-envision the way that federal government deploys computing power across all of its agencies, basically by using cloud computing, I think we can save a tremendous amount of money. I think we can do new things by experimenting in less risky ways, less expensive ways. And by doing those experiments, we may find solutions to our citizens' challenges and to the agency's missions on the whole in a much faster and much less expensive way than previously possible. I think the idea of all federal agencies being able to share cloud-based information with one another and basically do mashups between agencies is really interesting. I love the idea of trying to correlate information that Department of Commerce has with the information that Homeland Security has, with the information that Health and Human Services has, so that you could create a visualization to understand the implications of specific policies in real time, check on the real-time health of Americans using this correlated data, being able to pull out inferences like, wow, it looks like knee replacement costs 50% more in Tennessee than it does in Maine. What does that mean, and what can we do about it? So I think 5 years from now, we're going to be able to understand the relationship between data and actual reality on Main Street in a much more crystal clear and much more actionable way. And when we do that, I think that literally the efficacy of American democracy is increased. And I think that that is what this technology community is pushing for. I think that's what Government 2.0 is about. I think that's what Vivek Kundra and Anish Chopra are focused on. I know that's what the administration on the whole is focused on. So if we can do that, I think 5 years from now, we're going to be so much more effective than we are today. And that's exciting.